Ren looked upon the shimmering facade of the celestial oasis, heart pulsing with curiosity as well as a faint, inexplicable apprehension, as a sense of cosmic wonder filled the star-flecked sky, and a swirl of luminous nebulae framed the station's streamlined silhouette. The station itself hung, like a glimmering jewel in low orbit above the planet Helios 3, around which two small moons circulated in silent harmony. From his vantage point aboard the ferry shuttle, Ren marveled at the architectural artistry that had gone into constructing such a lavish spa. It had been praised throughout the galaxy for its impeccable treatments, its outlandish pampering, and its rumored ability to rejuvenate both body and spirit in ways humankind had scarcely even imagined. He was ready for a massage, a steam bath, maybe a cosmic salt soak anything, to ease away the countless parsecs of tension that had accumulated in his muscles, especially after a harrowing run through the asteroid belts of the Betelgeuse quadrant. He was an interstellar courier. He delivered everything from micro-encoded gemstone slivers to official diplomatic parcels between star systems, weaving through cosmic phenomena and black market smuggling routes. His job, while adventurous, weighed on his body in ways he could no longer ignore. The celestial oasis, he had heard, was the best place to remedy those aches. At the docking bay, deckhands guided the ferry in with mechanical arms that latched onto the ship's hull. Aligning the airlock with a precisely regulated hiss, Ren stepped out, mindful of the gentle gravity that was regulated at a comfortable standard inside the spa. After traveling across half a dozen worlds, it took him a few seconds to adjust his posture, to verify he wouldn't float or stumble or feel too heavy. He glanced around, scanning for a kiosk or an attendant, someone who might help him get checked in. The interior of the bay was a swirl of mesmerizing pastel lights, subtle aromas drifting from hidden vents to soothe new arrivals. Soft instrumental music, reminiscent of wind chimes tinged with alien notes, drifted in the corridor. Beyond that, the walls of the station resembled a golden labyrinth, dotted with vibrant designs that danced across the surfaces in lines and dots that almost reminded Ren of starlight patterns. The spa had carefully curated an atmosphere of serenity, which he found both comforting and slightly eerie. Brisk footsteps approached. A tall, four-armed staff member wearing a shimmering uniform greeted him with a courteous bow. Two of her arms were clasped at the waist, the others moving gracefully to beckon him inward. "Welcome to the celestial oasis, esteemed guest. May your burdens slip from your shoulders, and may you find peace within our corridors of healing. I am Alicia, one of the coordinators here." Ren nodded. "Thank you. My name's Ren. I have an appointment for a standard full-body massage session." He pulled up his digital confirmation slip. "Could you point me in the right direction?" She glanced at his slip, her four eyes blinking in quick succession. "Yes, of course, sir. We see you have opted for the Oasis Platinum experience, with the full bonding ritual." Her voice deepened reverently. "That is a premium choice indeed." Ren's eyebrows shot up. "Excuse me, but I just booked a regular, standard, typical massage. I definitely don't recall signing up for anything called a full bonding ritual." Alicia studied her device. "There must be some misunderstanding, sir. We have it clearly indicated in our system. You are enrolled in the Celestial Fertility and Bonding Program, part of the advanced spa therapy that fosters deeper personal connections, aligned with an advanced spiritual and physical synergy. It was an upgrade, apparently included in your reservation." He felt his stomach twist. "I just clicked the recommended button on your website. Maybe some discount code popped up." Shrugging, he tried to laugh it off. "I might have mistakenly accepted an upgrade, but that can be changed, right?" Alicia smiled, somewhat awkwardly. "We rarely do refunds on the bonding ritual, as it requires extensive preparation, specialized staff scheduling, and strictly curated herbal resources. However, if you'd prefer not to proceed, we might arrange a partial alternative." She paused. Yet, I must warn you. We have a very well-respected therapist waiting for you. You'd forfeit her availability if you do not at least attend the preliminary assessment. Ren scowled. It was a hassle, but the mention of a partial alternative gave him some hope. Fine, I'll talk to whomever I need to talk to, and then maybe I can switch to a normal service. Follow me, Alicia said, leading him past polished corridors. The lighting subtly shifted from warm gold to soft lavender, indicating a change in section. She explained that each corridor corresponded to a specialized service wing, carefully regulated for ambience, temperature, and gravity, all meticulously designed to optimize the spa treatments. The deeper they went, the more Ren noticed small signs etched into the walls, swirling patterns of unknown alien languages. Images of fertility gods and goddess, like figures entwined with star patterns. He realized the corridor he traveled now was dedicated to advanced, perhaps more esoteric spa treatments. None of it appeared explicitly menacing, just unexpectedly mystical. Past a set of gilded doors, they entered a large atrium with domed glass overhead, revealing the planet Helios 3 in the distance, an almost hypnotic swirl of cerulean clouds and silver land masses. In the center of the room stood a slender figure, draped in flowing, iridescent robes that caught every subtle shift of the overhead starlight. Their posture was graceful, arms crossed at the lower back, posture unbelievably poised. Alicia bowed slightly. This is Zelana. She is one of our esteemed bonding ritual therapists, known for her gentle, yet transformative approach. Ren momentarily forgot the complicated situation. He was struck by Zelana's presence, graceful, tall, her luminous skin tinted with a faint lavender hue, reminiscent of moonlight. She possessed large, liquid eyes that, while alien, evoked comfort, a sense of calm and acceptance. Her hair, if one could call the tendrils elegantly draping her shoulders hair, shimmered faintly in tandem with the overhead lights. She offered a slight nod, her voice resonant yet soft. Greetings, Ren. It is an honor to guide you on this chosen path. He coughed, uncertain. There's been a slight mix-up here. I wasn't actually looking for a fertility and bonding session, just a normal spa day. Her gaze softened. I sense your tension, your confusion. I would never coerce you to proceed with anything you find uncomfortable. The choices of body and spirit must be freely made. Let us speak together, and you can then decide what path best serves your well-being. Alicia gently excused herself, leaving Ren and Zelana in the grand atrium. Ren inhaled, trying to gather his composure. Look, I'd be happy if we could just figure out how to switch to something simpler. I've heard wonders about your cosmic salt scrubs. Zelana watched him with patient curiosity. Certainly. Let me at least share the principles of the full bonding ritual, so you understand what you might be declining. Then, I can help you work with scheduling to see if the standard treatments are feasible. Her voice lulled him into an odd, relaxing acceptance. Despite his initial reluctance, he found himself saying, "All right, I'll listen, but I'm really not sure about any fertility sessions. That's a big step." Right. A slight smile touched her features. We don't rush anything here. Our spa is known for respecting boundaries above all else. She gestured towards a side corridor. Shall we walk together? Ren nodded. They strolled through a softly lit hallway lined with exotic artwork depictions of swirling galaxies and star clusters, silhouettes of different alien species in communion, and abstract images that hinted at primal energies bridging gaps between souls. The environment was designed to inspire wonder rather than intimidation. Zelana began explaining the bonding ritual. On the surface, it is indeed a fertility treatment. Typically, couples or individuals come here seeking to forge deep emotional and physical ties with a partner, whether to conceive or to simply deepen a spiritual bond. The process can be purely symbolic for those not seeking fertility benefits. However, for certain species, this synergy can catalyze new life or strengthen latent empathic connections. The spa's therapies align the participants' energies, using specialized extracts from the Helios flora, carefully designed, holistic exercises, and guided emotional bridging. Most participants emerge feeling renewed, with a heightened sense of intimacy, be it with a romantic partner or, in the case of single individuals, with themselves and the cosmic energies around them. Ren exhaled slowly. That sounds intense. And I'm just, a lonely courier who's tired from traveling. I definitely wasn't planning on forging cosmic bonds with a stranger. No offense. She bowed her head graciously. None taken. It's quite normal to be hesitant. What is your immediate priority? Physically or emotionally? He thought for a moment. Relaxation. Stress. Relief. I've had it up to here with wormhole turbulence, corporate demands, and smuggler ambushes. My shoulders, my back, everything is stiff. My mind's on edge. She nodded sympathetically. Then perhaps the first step is an intake evaluation. We can do a mild energy alignment that doubles as an excellent massage. If, after that, you decide this isn't for you, I'll personally arrange the standard treatments you'd prefer. Her lips curled in a gentle smile. Would that be acceptable? He felt some tension leave his body at her kindly. Open approach. Yes. Let's do that. They reached an ornately carved door of pale white material shot through with opalescent striations. It glowed softly, responding to Zelana's presence. Inside was a spherical chamber. Soft pillows and woven rugs in subtle pastel shades were arranged in concentric circles around a central dais. Wisps of incense like vapor curled along the ceiling. The air felt tranquil, slightly warmer than outside, and carried a faint, floral scent that reminded Ren of far-off meadows. He inhaled deeply, letting the fragrance fill him with calm. Zelana guided him to the dais and invited him to sit. This is a preliminary aura balancing environment. If you have no objections, I'd like to begin by scanning your energetic field with my inherent, empathic sense. To pinpoint tension or blockages, he shrugged. Curious. Sounds interesting. Go ahead. She circled around him, her hands gracefully extended, palms hovering a few inches from his skin, never quite touching. Ren felt a subtle tingle spread across his neck and shoulders, as if invisible fingers probed tightness beneath the surface. He felt no pain, just a gentle, pleasant warmth. His eyelids drifted closed. Images flickered behind his mind's eye, fleeting memories of traveling, alone, bracing through cosmic storms, the stinging hush of the vacuum, and the glimmering starfields that had kept him company. Then, beneath that, other scenes, moments of heartbreak, old wounds, fleeting glimpses of sorrow he rarely acknowledged. Ren felt a lump in his throat but refused to surrender to tears. Zelana's voice rippled in the hush. I sense restlessness, tinged with regret. You carry burdens you do not speak of, but your soul echoes them still. He sighed, surprised at the lumps of tension that seemed to gather near his heart. Yes, that's accurate. Let's just say life can get complicated. She stepped away, retrieving a small vessel of shimmering oil from a side table. May I place my hands on you now? This oil is derived from local Helios blossoms. It'll soothe your physical aches and help your emotional field ease open, if you permit. Ren swallowed. Sure. He expected a typical massage approach, but her hands glided with uncanny precision. She pressed along the pressure points at the base of his neck, kneading gently. The tension melted, and he nearly slumped forward with relief. Waves of well-being radiated down his spine, each exhale releasing tension he hadn't realized he was holding. Zelana's voice accompanied the subtle, rhythmic movements of her hands. The spa developed the bonding ritual from ancient Helios traditions. In many species, fertility is intertwined with trust and emotional resonance. This ritual fosters mutual vulnerability and intimacy, yet it can also be adapted for individuals seeking to reconnect with themselves. This is one reason it's revered across the galaxy. A sigh escaped Ren's lips. He was unable to muster his typical cynicism. This felt so blissful, so unexpectedly tranquil. He found himself thinking that Maybe an accidental upgrade wasn't the worst thing in the universe, though it certainly wasn't what he'd planned. As her hands pressed along his shoulder blades, a deep sense of warmth permeated his chest, loosening emotional knots he had never intentionally addressed. Minutes, perhaps hours, passed in a kind of dreamlike haze, though it was likely only half an hour. When Zelana finally ceased her skillful pressure, Ren opened his eyes, every muscle feeling lighter, as though he'd been soaked in a gentle cosmic tide. He turned to look at her. That was remarkable. She nodded calmly. I see that your tension is substantial, but you also respond quite favorably to empathic therapy. If you'd like, I can proceed with a deeper stage of the session, or I can call it here and arrange your standard treatments. Ren sighed, glancing at the swirling incense above. I don't know. On one hand, I really didn't sign up for all of this advanced stuff, but some part of me is curious. This is more healing than I anticipated. He hesitated. Could you tell me more about that deeper stage? Zelana took a seat beside him, her presence comforting. Yes, typically, the deeper stage involves a guided synergy. I share my own empathic current while amplifying your mind's capacity for introspection. This can, in a bonding context, create an intimate channel between participants. But for a single traveler like you, it can help unearth hidden pains and help you heal from them. It's not easy, as it stirs up old memories and emotions, but the outcome can be profoundly freeing. Ren looked into her eyes, large, luminous, but never intrusive. That might be more intense than I can handle, but maybe I need that. I never realized how deeply I bury things. Zelana's slender hand hovered near his own, not touching, yet her presence was a gentle invitation. I will not push you. The choice must come from within. He exhaled, weighed the pros and cons, but found his voice surprisingly steady. Let's try it. With a small, understanding smile, she led him to a more secluded, cushioned space at the side of the room. The walls were adorned with swirling motifs, shifting in and out with subtle pulses of color. A low hum, almost like a gentle cosmic background, suffused the atmosphere. She indicated, for him to lie down. Close your eyes. Breathe. Visualize a warm, healing light gathering at your heart. I shall guide the flow. Ren did as instructed, inhaling, exhaling, letting a golden warmth accumulate in his chest. He sensed Zelana's presence kneeling beside him. She placed 2 fingertips gently on his forehead, the ephemeral weight barely there. But a spark flickered behind his eyelids. He saw swirling shapes, patterns of luminous green and violet that reminded him of planetary auroras. Slowly, these lights coalesced into images himself as a boy back on Earth, skipping stones, across a small pond, longing for bigger horizons, then older memories of leaving Earth for the first time, gazing back at the shrinking blue sphere with tears in his eyes. The images blended with a wave of emotion, and though he felt sorrow and yearning, the sense of Zelana's supportive presence remained, anchoring him. A calm voice whispered at the edge of his consciousness, encouraging him to let the feelings pass through. He recalled the heartbreak of losing friends to the dangers of deep space, the regrets from old arguments with loved ones he seldom visited. One by one, each memory was held in that healing warmth, acknowledged, then gently set aside. When at last he emerged from this guided immersion, he found Zelana's hand resting lightly on his shoulder. He blinked, tears glistening in his eyes. He felt both vulnerable and inexplicably comforted. He took a moment to collect himself, focusing on the luminous patterns overhead. That was intense, but also liberating. Zelana nodded. You have done well, Ren. The willingness to see oneself is always the hardest step. He rose slowly, feeling simultaneously lighter and strangely hollow, as though he had to fill a newly emptied space with fresh purpose. Thank you, he said quietly. Maybe I needed that. She gave a graceful bow. If this is the extent of your journey here, I can arrange for you to have a lovely time with the standard treatments. Perhaps a salt soak and herbal sauna to further relax. Your physical form. He hesitated, truly unsure. What he had experienced felt incomplete, as if the process was half finished. The part about fertility or bonding with another living soul might not be so irrelevant. The depth of connection he'd tasted, even if it was mostly an empathic therapy, directed by Zelana, revealed how starved he was for genuine closeness in his life, though the rational side of him said it was too soon, too strange, too complicated. The emotional side recognized that maybe this was precisely the moment for trusting that cosmic nudge. He recalled the swirl of energies, the sense of acceptance, of not being alone. Ren squared his shoulders. Could I continue the process? The bonding ritual, or however you call it. I'm not promising anything else, but something in me wants to see where this might lead. Zelana offered a serene smile, perhaps tinged with relief. Of course, we shall proceed at a gentle pace. I won't pressure you into anything beyond your comfort, but if you are ready to explore a deeper synergy, we can do so. That was how Ren, the jaded courier in desperate need of a simple massage, found himself committing to an entire sequence of mystical spa treatments with an alien therapist. Fate had a strange sense of humor indeed. They began the sequence formally the next morning. Zelana explained that the bonding ritual included multiple stages, culminating in what was traditionally a fertility alignment for those who came as partners. However, since Ren was a single traveler with no immediate interest in conceiving, the latter portion would focus more on unlocking empathic channels, forging a deep bond of mutual recognition, and activating the potential for greater emotional openness in the future. Be aware, Zelana cautioned him as they walked along a corridor that led to the heart of the spa, that the deeper we go, the more your own latent empathic sensitivities might awaken. We must ensure you're prepared, emotionally and mentally. There's no shame if you wish to stop at any point. Ren, absorbing the gentle swirl of lights overhead, grinned ruefully. I appreciate that, but somehow I suspect if I walked away now, I'd regret never seeing it through. Also, I guess I feel safe with you. Strange to say that about someone I just met, but that's how it is. She nodded, guiding him to a large, egg-shaped chamber that pulsed with a soft heartbeat like rhythm. Its door slid open smoothly, revealing a softly lit interior containing a raised platform around which water trickled in a circular channel. The water was faintly glowing, tinted aqua, exuding a faint hum of resonance that vibrated through the floor. This is the purification chamber, Zelana explained. Here, your physical form will be immersed in specially charged water. The minerals have unique properties. Some would call it science. Others might call it mystical, but, effectively, it aligns your body's cells, making them receptive to the empathic synergy we will cultivate. Ren stepped cautiously into the shallow water, which rose to about mid-thigh. It was pleasantly warm. The luminous surface parted around his legs, small ripples emitting shimmering arcs of color. Zelana, removing her outer robe, entered as Well, wearing only a thin shift that clung to her frame. Ren felt a surge of awkwardness, quickly banishing intrusive thoughts. This was a therapy session, a bonding ritual, not an ordinary moment. He averted his eyes, though a sense of heightened awareness passed between them. Sit, Zelana said, softly, gesturing to a submerged bench near the center. Ren sank until water nearly reached his neck, his posture relaxing as the heated current soothed him. Zelana took a seat facing him, their knees nearly touching beneath the water's surface. She raised her hands, then pressed her palms against the center of his chest, over his sternum. He felt an immediate surge of warmth. Her voice, scarcely above a whisper, drifted in the hush. Focus on your heartbeat. I will synchronize my breathing with yours. Together, we'll let the water carry away any lingering discord. Ren closed his eyes, feeling his breath align with her gentle exhales. The spa's luminous environment swam behind his eyelids, stirring a sense of quiet euphoria. Each breath felt like it extended deeper into his core, unwinding tension from his muscles, dissolving lingering mental anxieties in a swirl of color. He became acutely aware of Zelana's presence, her calm, steady energy, a beacon in this ethereal domain. Minutes passed, or perhaps an hour time became elusive. Eventually, Zelana retracted her hands, and the subtle current of the water changed, swirling in gentle eddies. "That is enough for the purification stage," she murmured. "How do you feel?" Ren blinked, letting his senses reorient. He was quite certain that if he stood up now, his knees would wobble like jelly from the sheer relaxation flooding him. "It feel good. Really good, actually." A faint laugh escaped him. "I haven't felt this light in ages." She touched his shoulder lightly. "We'll move on, then, to the Garden of Renewal. Let us dry ourselves. And you can dress in a robe. I'll show you the garden." Ren followed her out of the chamber. Automatic vents whisked away the moisture in quick, gentle gusts of air. He donned a soft, luxurious robe offered by an attendant. Zelana led him through a corridor filled with living plants, flowers of phosphorescent petals, vines that gently coiled around columns, leaves shaped like teardrops that glowed with internal luminescence. The effect was enchanting, as if stepping into a hidden corner of Eden, transplanted into the far reaches of space. At the center of this garden, a clearing opened up, lit by an artificial sun that glowed overhead in cycles, simulating dawn and dusk in subtle sequences. A large circular platform rose from the soft, mossy ground, bordered by delicate mushrooms that glittered like tiny lanterns. Zelana motioned for him to stand on the platform's edge. "Here," she explained softly, "we conduct the emergence rite. This involves a symbolic dance, though not necessarily a formal one. It's more about movement, letting your body respond to the energies around you. The ritual helps unify the mind, body, and environment. I'll guide you, but it should be intuitive." Ren let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. "A dance ritual? Huh. I'm not really a dancer," he admitted. Zelana offered a reassuring smile. "This is about self-expression, not technique. Let your body follow the music of your heartbeat, the breath of the garden. You won't be judged." Ren nodded, stepping onto the platform's smooth surface. A low, haunting melody began to play from hidden speakers among the foliage. The tone was reminiscent of a cosmic wind crossing an empty stretch of stars, interspersed with subtle percussion that suggested a primal heartbeat. Zelana began swaying gently, arms raising in a graceful arc. Ren tried to mimic her movements, feeling clumsy at first, but the environment's enveloping sense of calm soon eased his self-consciousness. Slowly, he allowed himself to move in response to the music, each step a small release of tension. Zelana circled around him, their robes swirling. Her eyes were half closed in meditative focus. With each measured step, she seemed to trace symbols in the air, ephemeral lines of energy that flickered in Ren's peripheral vision. He followed her lead, not exactly copying each motion, but letting himself drift into an almost trance-like state. The garden's plants responded, shimmering softly, as if echoing the dance. Ren felt the music reverberate in his bones, linking him to Zelana in a subtle rhythm that transcended mere physical proximity. Eventually, the music faded. Ren found himself breathless but exhilarated, his forehead slightly damp with sweat. His heart pounded in a manner that felt not tiring, but vibrantly alive. Zelana's gaze met his, a satisfied light shining in her midnight blue eyes. "That was well done," she said quietly. "Often, individuals feel awkward and self-conscious. You allowed yourself to be free." Ren swallowed. It felt liberating, like letting go of everything outside this moment. Zelana beckoned him to the side of the platform, where a carved stone bench emerged from a swirl of living vines. They sat. She took his hands in hers, gently, carefully. "Ren, from here onward, the next steps in the bonding ritual typically introduce more direct empathic interplay. Usually, it's done with a partner seeking to conceive or to seal emotional intimacy. We can adapt it for you, if you wish." or we can keep it purely symbolic. Ren studied her luminous features, a swirl of conflicting thoughts rising in him. The last day or so had opened his eyes to new perspectives, new yearnings. He recognized an increasing sense of closeness with Zelana, her calm presence, her unwavering empathy. He was no fool. He knew that some of it was the spa's environment, the nature of the therapy. Yet, he couldn't deny that he felt a genuine bond forming, at least on his. She was so different from anyone he'd met in all his travels. The question was, how far did he want to venture down this path? A memory of lonely nights on his ship flitted across his mind, of drifting among starfields, with no one to share the wonder of cosmic vistas. Something in him whispered that perhaps it was time to let someone in, even if just a little. He inhaled. I might want the real thing, or at least as real as it can be in this situation. I'm not expecting a romance novel ending, but maybe I shouldn't close off the possibility of deeper connection. Zelana's smile was radiant yet gentle. Then we shall proceed. I will, of course, respect your pace. Their gazes locked for a moment, the hush of the garden enveloping them in green luminescence. Ren felt the stirring of possibilities within his chest. Strange, how a chance mix-up on a website had brought him here, opening doors he never knew he wanted to open. His logic brain told him that these ceremonies might be manipulative or dangerously enthralling. However, everything about Zelana exuded sincerity, and he realized he trusted her. All right, he said softly. Let's do it, to accommodate Ren's new intention. Zelana arranged a private suite for the advanced bonding sessions. The suite was a testament to the spa's mastery of ambiance, a circular room whose domed ceiling projected a gently moving starfield. Clouds of cosmic dust drifted in slow arcs overhead, tinted by swirling color. Plush seating and softly glowing crystal fixtures adorned the space, all carefully placed to create a sense of closeness and wonder without feeling cramped. The next few days passed in a dreamlike progression of empathic exercises. Some were meditative. They sat facing each other, breath synchronized, hearts and minds drifting closer. Others were physical, massaging specialized oils into each other's skin to foster deeper relaxation, or gently placing hands on one another's chest to create resonance. The line between therapy and intimacy blurred in a manner that neither of them forced nor hastened. They shared small details of their lives, from Ren's hectic courier schedule to Zelana's devotion to spa healing arts. In the midst of that gentle exploration, a deeper link began forming. Ren occasionally caught glimpses of Zelana's memories, fragments of her homeworld, a place of shimmering seas and tall, crystalline spires, where her people practiced empathic traditions since ancient times. He learned of her training, her purpose in venturing to the celestial oasis, where she used her gifts to assist those seeking deeper connections. She valued free will above all else, despising any compulsion or exploitation of empathy. Ren sensed her sincerity, and his own defenses loosened further. He found himself confiding his past as well, the reason he left Earth, not just for adventure, but because he had felt alienated from the humdrum routine of his community. He confessed that though he roamed the galaxy, forging new acquaintances at every starport, he rarely let anyone truly see him. It was easier to remain behind emotional shields, safe from heartbreak or entanglements. Zelana listened without judgment, offering her quiet acceptance. Their sessions became a crucible for vulnerability, forging a link that might have taken months or years under normal circumstances. By the fourth day, after a long session of guided synergy, they retired to the suite's sitting area. Ren felt a serene glow inside him. He also recognized a hint of real affection, blossoming between them. A voice in his head insisted it was too quick, too improbable, but the gentle swirl of empathic resonance told him otherwise. Such intimacy sometimes happened naturally under the right circumstances, especially between open hearts. They sat on cushions, facing each other. Zelana set aside a crystal bowl of sweet fruit slices, each bursting with alien flavors. She studied Ren's face, You've progressed far. Ren, your empathy is more open. Your energy's more aligned. You said at the start you had no intention to engage in anything beyond a normal spa session. Have you? Any regrets so far? He shook his head firmly. No regrets. This is unexpected. Yes. But I feel like I'm discovering a part of myself I never dared explore. Even if this ends tomorrow, I think it was worth it. She placed a hand lightly over his. It doesn't have to end. But I must be honest, I'm not at liberty to simply depart my post at the spa. My contract requires me to remain here for a certain period. However, I have the freedom to connect with whomever I choose, so long as it doesn't violate spa guidelines. Her words contained a subtle tension he hadn't noticed before. Spa guidelines. She nodded. Yes. The celestial oasis hosts many species and fosters an environment of safety and healing. Our staff are not permitted to engage in exploitative relationships. But, ironically, there are occasional complications from external influences. We have certain aristocrats, or powerful individuals, who view the staff as possessions to be bought, and some of them interpret the bonding ritual as a means to bind a therapist to them. That's something we fight against through protective contracts. We do not want forced ties. True choice is paramount. Ren's jaw tightened. Has that ever happened to you? Or your colleagues? She hesitated, gaze dropping. On occasion, a wealthy noble might attempt to claim exclusive rights to a therapist. Usually, the spa's administration prevents such scenarios from escalating. But there are unscrupulous types who try to circumvent the rules. I mention it only as a precaution. Our bond, while genuine, might draw unwarranted attention, especially since some might see an alien-human synergy as a novelty or a resource to be exploited. Ren frowned. If that ever happens, I'll help protect you. A shy, appreciative smile lit her features. Thank you. Let us hope it never comes to that. In that moment, Ren decided that if anyone tried to manipulate or coerce Zelana, he would stand at her side, come what may. The swirling star projection overhead flickered with cosmic dust, as if echoing the vow formed in his heart. Days turned into a week, and Ren's scheduled departure date quietly slipped past. He found himself extending his stay. The spa's environment was addictive in the best possible sense. Every morning brought new experiences, new ways to release tension or cultivate deeper empathy. But beyond, the treatments, Ren sensed he was forging a real connection with Zelana. The two shared stories over leisurely meals, walked the orchid-laden corridors hand in hand, and practiced empathic synergy that transcended typical physical closeness. On the 9th day, they strolled through a wide, glass-paneled corridor offering a panoramic view of Helios 3 and its swirling silver seas. Ren felt content. He had never known such peace. Then, behind them, came the echo of measured footsteps. A woman's voice called out, "Zelana," the voice said, heavy with a mixture of courtesy and cool assumption. "I've been searching for you, dear." Zelana turned, face settling into a calm but guarded expression. Ren followed her gaze. Approaching was a tall figure dressed in elaborate attire embroidered with golden filigree. Her hair, a cascade of shimmering black, was braided intricately. A small retinue of armed attendants lingered at a respectful distance behind her. She moved with regal grace, her bearing that of someone used to commanding resources and people alike. Zelana inclined her head politely. "Greetings, Lady Aracona. I was unaware you had returned to the Celestial Oasis." A faint smirk quirked across Lady Aracona's lips. "Yes. Well, my business in the outer sectors concluded sooner than expected. I received notice you had resumed advanced bonding sessions with new clients, or one new client in particular." Her coal-black eyes shifted to scrutinize. Ren with the calm arrogance of a predator sizing up prey. "And who might this be?" Ren stepped forward, summoning polite composure. "My name is Ren. I'm currently participating in a bonding therapy with Zelana. It's helpful for me." Lady Aracon. A's lips curled faintly. "Ah, A courtesy.membership. No doubt. You must be quite enthralled with Zelana's talents. I myself know them well. Zelana cleared her throat softly. Lady Aracona, how may I assist you today? Did you come for further therapy sessions? A thin, humorless laugh escaped Aracona. Let's not mince words, dear. I have come to finalize the arrangement we discussed previously. The contract for exclusive rights to your future fertility therapies. Ren's stomach twisted at the words. He glanced at Zelana, noticing a flicker of distress cross her face. Her voice remained calm. We discussed no such final arrangement. Lady Aracona, I expressly stated that any contract must respect my free agency. I do not belong to anyone. Aracona waved a hand dismissively. Yes, but I have the means to negotiate with the spa's administrators. Your spa manager made it clear that an appropriately large contribution to the oasis could ensure priority in scheduling, especially for a therapist as sought after as you. I have the paperwork right here. One of her attendants hurried forward, holding a digital pad. Once you sign, you'll serve me exclusively. And, of course, I'll take on any competitor who tries to infringe upon that arrangement. Zelana's eyes narrowed. I will not sign that. It goes against the spa's ethos and my own moral stance. Ren felt anger rising. Lady Aracona, if Zelana says she won't sign, that means no. You can't just buy a person. Aracona's gaze flitted to him, with a slight condescending smile. How quaint. I see Zelana has found a new pet project. However, the matter is above your station. Traveler, the spa is a business, not a charity, and significant capital influences decisions. Ren nearly bristled. He recognized the type, someone who believed everything had a price tag, that enough wealth could circumvent any moral or personal boundary. He took a breath, forcing calm. I might not have your wealth or influence, but I won't stand by and let you try to enslave Zelana under the guise of a contract. Aracona rolled her eyes. Hyperbole. We are simply finalizing an agreement for future fertility treatments. Zelana is free to move about, so long as she's available for my sessions and no others. That's not slavery. It's an exclusive retainer, quite common among the upper echelons. Zelana looked at Ren, a silent apology in her eyes. She faced Aracona with composed firmness. I will not yield. And if the spa's administration tries to force the matter, I will resign my position. My people do not abide coerced servitude, nor do the official codes of the celestial oasis. If properly enforced. Aracona's mouth tightened. I see. You've grown bold. Very well. I shall speak to the administrators immediately. We'll see how your confidence holds up when the spa's owners weigh a sizable donation that could fund expansions and improvements. She spun on her heel, swirling her embroidered cloak behind her, and strode away, flanked by her silent attendants. Ren exhaled shakily. That was intense. Is the spa's management really that compromised? Zelana's shoulders sagged. I pray not. There are formal codes protecting therapists, but, occasionally, large sums of money twist interpretations, and political games ensue. Lady Aracona's family is quite influential, apparently. Ren scowled. Then we fight back. You shouldn't have to sign away your free will for anything, no matter how wealthy the other person is. Zelana nodded, appreciation shining in her eyes. Thank you, Ren. I may need your support. His heart pounded. You have it. Let her try to bully you. I won't stand by. We'll figure out a way, without hesitation. Ren pulled Zelana gently into his arms. She offered no resistance, only a quiet acceptance, tension easing from her form. He felt the hum of her empathic aura, tinged with worry, but also gratitude for his willingness to protect her. In that moment, he knew that this was no longer just a spa treatment. He cared for her as a person, not merely a skilled therapist or ephemeral romantic fling. He wanted her to remain free to choose her own path. They sought an audience with the spa's administrators the following morning. Alicia, the four-armed coordinator who had first greeted Ren, guided them to the administrative wing, a plush, airy space where cascading fountains interwove with columns of polished marble. There, behind a curved desk made of luminescent crystal, sat Master Kilosin, a silver-haired being with elongated ears and a wizened gaze. Several other board members were present, each representing different species that co-managed the celestial oasis. Zelana spoke first, explaining the confrontation with Lady Aracona and clarifying her refusal to sign any exclusive contract. I stand by the spa's founding principles. The Celestial Oasis Code states that no being may be coerced into an arrangement that violates their fundamental rights. Lady Aracona's request is a violation of that code. Master Kilosin listened, fingers steepled. Eventually, one of the other board members, a reptilian with golden scales, spoke up. We appreciate your concern, Zelana. However, Lady Aracona offers a substantial donation that could underwrite expansions and new treatments, potentially benefiting thousands of clients. We must consider the greater good. Ren felt his temper rising. The greater good, by forcing an unwilling therapist into an exclusive contract. That's not good. That's exploitation. Kilosin held up a hand for calm. We do not condone forced servitude. The question arises from a contractual standpoint. We cannot bar Lady Aracona from requesting advanced sessions with a therapist if that therapist is available. In return for her donation, she wishes to secure a long-term schedule with Zelana, culminating in the fertility sessions that she desires. However, there's no explicit violation of SPA policy if Zelana consents. Zelana interjected, but I do not consent. Kilosin nodded thoughtfully. And that is your right. We have no intention of overriding your personal autonomy. However, Lady Aracona is threatening to withdraw her donation and sue for breach of promise, claiming that you gave verbal confirmation previously. He sighed. She insists that you led her on, incurring costs during her prior visits, thus establishing a quasi-contract. If she files suit in Helios's courts, it could tarnish the SPA's reputation. The board is, understandably, concerned. Ren wanted to snap that Lady Aracona was lying, but he forced composure. That's not a reason to pressure Zelana into compliance. The SPA's code states you must protect your staff, especially if there's a risk of exploitation. A hush fell. Some of the board members exchanged uncertain looks. Kilosin's voice gentled. We want to find a solution that respects your freedom, Zelana, but also mitigates the risk to the SPA. Perhaps if you agreed to partial sessions with Lady Aracona, not exclusive, but a compromise. Zelana shook her head firmly. I do not trust that woman. She desires ownership, not healing. I cannot remain silent while she manipulates the system. Ren saw the flicker of frustration cross Kilosin's features. Then we face a dilemma. Lady Aracona has already begun the legal process. Unless we can disprove her claims of a quasi-contract, we might be forced to let her have her. Case heard in Helios's high court. The SPA will be mired in scandal. People might question if our bonding ritual is ethically administered. Zelana's shoulders slumped. That is precisely what Lady Aracona wants. She aims to corner us into submission. Ren looked between them, heart pounding, mind racing. Then we'll fight her in court. Let the truth prevail. She has no proof Zelana gave any verbal agreement. This is all intimidation. Kilosin's expression was grim. That is an option, though it could take months to resolve. In that time, Zelana might be barred from practicing the advanced therapies to prevent further complications, which would hamper her career. Zelana closed her eyes. Better that than subjugation. I will not yield. The board members murmured among themselves, some nodding in resigned acceptance, others unsettled. Master Kilosin raised his voice. Very well. We will honor your stance, Zelana. Though we cannot guarantee the outcome, we will consult our legal advisors. In the meantime, you may continue your normal duties, but refrain from new fertility rituals until this is settled. I trust that is acceptable. She bowed her head. Thank you for at least standing by the SPA's code. I'll do as you request. Ren let out a breath, relieved they had not demanded she comply. Yet he could sense the weight of the looming battle. We'll help however we can, he said simply. He felt Zelana's hand slip into his. A silent, mutual vow passed between them. Outside the administrative wing, they walked in thoughtful silence. Alicia accompanied them a short distance, looking troubled. I'm sorry, Zelana. Ren. The board is in a tight spot. Arakona's wealth could fund the new expansions that so many lesser-known clients need. I can't. Believe she's stooping to blackmail. Ren exhaled slowly. I'm not. She seemed like the type. She wants what she wants, and she's used to buying it. He glanced at Zelana. Do you have any recourse on your homeworld? Any diplomatic ties that might intervene? Zelana shrugged. My people are not heavily involved in Helios's politics. Besides, I chose to work at the spa under their jurisdiction. It's up to me to navigate these laws. Alicia bit her lip with tension. You could leave the spa, but then you might forfeit certain protections. This is complicated. She hesitated. If you need any help from me, please ask. I want to see you remain free and safe. Zelana smiled faintly. Thank you, friend. For now, we'll trust the board's lawyers to uphold the spa's code. Ren set his jaw, offering Zelana a silent vow of protection once more in his thoughts. Even as a flutter of anxiety clenched his stomach, he had faced pirates, corporate enforcers, and the hazards of space. But this was a different kind of battle, one waged by cunning legalities and hidden manipulations. Despite the looming threat, Ren and Zelana continued to spend time together, forging an even deeper bond that transcended the official ritual framework. She introduced him to Helios's cultural traditions through the spa's curated exhibits, elaborate dances, cooking demonstrations featuring luminous fruits, sculpting sessions using quivering stardust-infused clay. He felt closer to her in those simple, shared experiences, laughing over comedic misunderstandings of local recipes, or quietly admiring the fractal sculptures displayed in the spa's galleries. By the second week of the dispute, rumors circulated among staff that Lady Arakona was pressuring the board relentlessly, threatening them with lawsuits or withdrawing her promised donation. Tensions ran high. Some staff members felt Zelana was endangering the spa's expansions, while others staunchly defended her right to refuse. Ren found himself at the center of gossip, an off-worlder who'd unexpectedly triggered a high-profile standoff. Late one evening, after a gentle meditation session, Ren and Zelana sat together in an alcove overlooking the starlit planet far below. Pale beams of moonlight streamed through the panoramic window, bathing them in silvery radiance. They shared a quiet contentment for a while. Then, Zelana sighed, turning to him with serious eyes. Ren, I'm worried about the spa's resolution. Master Kilosan says the legal situation is growing more complex. Arakona insists there was a promise, though she provides no proof other than ambiguous hearsay from prior sessions. Her wealth influences every layer of the Helios system. She clasped her hands, slender fingers twisting in anxiety. If the spa caves under pressure, I'll have to flee. I won't sign that contract, but I also don't want to be forced into indefinite litigation. Ren set a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Then you'll not leave. I'll help you. We can figure out a new place to go, a new start somewhere else. She looked at him, eyes shining with uncertain hope. You would do that. He nodded firmly. Without hesitation. If it comes down to it, I'll take you aboard my ship. We'll find you a safe harbor. I have contacts in a few systems, decent folks who owe me favors. We can keep going until we settle somewhere that respects your autonomy. She breathed softly, tears threatening at the corners of her eyes. That is a monumental offer. I never expected such loyalty from someone I'd only just met. Yet, IFEEL, as though I've known you far longer. Ren smiled wryly. These empathic sessions bond people quickly, or so I've heard. He grew quiet, heart pounding. But it's more than that. I care about you, Zelana. I don't want to see you hurt or trapped. She leaned her head on his shoulder, letting The hush of the star-filled corridor wrapped them in gentle isolation. I care about you too. Thank you. He wrapped an arm around her, pulling her close, ignoring the subtle ache in his own chest. An ache of longing. Yes, for someone who felt like a miracle in his nomadic life, yet overshadowed by the knowledge that soon they might have to flee. The next afternoon, the board summoned them both again. They arrived to find Master Kilosan and a few other administrators in an even more somber mood. Kilosan stood, face etched with weariness. We have news. Lady Aracona has filed an 8E official petition before the Helios High Court, alleging breach of promise and detrimental reliance. She claims you, Zelana, lured her into the advanced bonding ritual, incurring significant expense on her part, with the implicit understanding that exclusive fertility rights would follow. She has demanded restitution in an amount so large that the spa's finances would be crippled, as well as an injunction preventing you from offering advanced therapies to others. Zelana's face blanched, but she spoke calmly. We have a code that states each participant must freely consent. There is no promise if I never gave it. Kilosan rubbed his temples. Yes, but legal battles can twist words. If we lose, the spa stands to suffer a catastrophic blow. We might be forced into a settlement to avoid that outcome. Ren clenched his fists. A settlement, meaning Zelana has to serve Aracona. The reptilian board member hissed a sigh. It might mean partial compliance with her demands, or a compromise that effectively grants her exclusive sessions. We have no illusions about her true intent. It's effectively a forced contract. But the spa must think of all the staff and clients who rely on our services. Zelana squared her shoulders. You're telling me to sacrifice my freedom for a donation and to avoid a lawsuit. This is exactly the corruption we dreaded. Silence draped the room, thick with tension. Kilosan's eyes filled with regret. We have not decided anything yet. We're merely informing you. Our next hearing is in 5 days. The board is weighing options. Ren felt a surge of protective fury. We'll find a way to prove her claims are false. She can't just conjure in not agreement from thin air. Kilosan exhaled. Yes, that is our official stance. I must warn you, though Aracona's connections run deep, and she has a top legal team. The spa's lawyers are skilled, but they fear a drawn-out case. Enough resources can bury us in procedural motions and appeals. We are a healing sanctuary, not a litigation machine. Zelana's posture quivered with suppressed anger. I will not sign anything. I will not comply. The board members exchanged uneasy glances. Finally, Kilosan placed a small data crystal on the table. Zelana, we ask you to gather any evidence you have that disproves Aracona's claims. If you can present conclusive proof that no governable promise existed, or that she fabricated certain communications, we can strengthen our defense. Absent that, we rely on your word against hers, which might not sway the court given her influence. Ren took the crystal, nodding. We'll try. Thank you. He guided Zelana out of the administrative room, seething at the injustice of it. Over the following days, Ren scoured the spa's archives, scanning any logs or records of Aracona's prior visits to find contradictions in her story. Zelana offered her recollections of the sessions, searching for the slightest detail that could prove the lack of any binding arrangement. Alicia and some sympathetic staff helped compile background data, time-stamped scheduling logs, standard disclaimers that all advanced sessions required mutual consent, statements from other therapists who'd seen Lady Aracona before. They found bits and pieces that cast doubt on her claims, but nothing definitively damning. As the hearing date approached, Zelana's anxiety grew. She wanted to trust in the spa's code of ethics, but she knew how easily power could twist the law. Ren comforted her at every turn, though he fought his own swirling worry. He had half a mind to hustle Zelana onto his ship and vanish into the stars, but she insisted on trying to stand her ground first, for the sake of her colleagues and the spa's reputation. She loved the celestial oasis, had invested years of her life here and didn't want to abandon it without a fight. Finally, the day of the hearing arrived. Zelana and Ren, accompanied by Kilosan and the spa's legal counsel, traveled down to the planet's surface. Helios 3's capital city glittered with silvery spires that soared high into the pale sky. The High Court building was a grand structure of translucent quartz, sunlight refracting in rainbow patterns across its soaring pillars. Inside, the ornate hall was lined with seats for spectators, though only a handful of onlookers had arrived to witness the preliminary hearing. Lady Aracona was there, draped in opulent garments, her dark hair cascading in a waterfall of braids. Her legal team exuded confidence, carrying digital pads brimming with meticulously prepared arguments. Ren watched Aracona speak with them, a self-satisfied smile etched on her lips. When her gaze flicked to Zelana, that smile turned predatory. The presiding magistrate, a stern figure with bright teal skin and a precisely styled crest of horns, called the session to order. Both parties stated their positions. Aracona's chief counsel argued that Zelana had induced his client to invest in costly preliminary sessions, strongly implying eventual exclusivity. My client made it clear that the advanced bonding ritual would lead to a fertility contract, and Zelana never objected or set boundaries, he claimed. Therefore, we have an implied contract. Zelana's refusal to fulfill that contract has caused my client significant financial and emotional harm. The spa's representative countered that the code required explicit mutual consent for each stage of therapy, emphasizing that no evidence existed of Zelana making any promise. A heated back and forth ensued about the nature of implied contracts and the significance of spa disclaimers. Through it all, Zelana sat quietly, face composed, though Ren could sense her tension. He occasionally placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Lady Aracona looked on, exuding smug certainty. After hours of testimony, the magistrate declared a short recess, then reconvened to deliver a preliminary ruling. It is the court's view that the contract claim requires further evidence. We will proceed to a formal trial unless the parties settle. In the interim, the court issues an injunction preventing Zelana from performing advanced bonding rituals with any new client, pending the outcome. Aracona's counsel nodded, unruffled, as though it were precisely the result they expected. Zelana stiffened, but her expression remained impassive. The spa's counsel calmly acknowledged the court's decision, though tension radiated in the air. As the hearing ended, Aracona strode up to Zelana with a haughty arch of her brow. Such a pity you'll be barred from your precious advanced therapy, all because you spurned my generous offer. Zelana's chin lifted defiantly. I'm sure that your malicious efforts will catch up to you. I'll never sign your contract. Aracona laughed coldly. We'll see if the spa remains so loyal once they realize you've become a liability. Remember my final offer. Sign the exclusivity agreement, and all these troubles vanish. Ren stepped between them, eyes flashing. Leave her alone. Aracona regarded him like an insect. How? Gallant, but powerless. With that, she swept away, trailing sycophants behind her. Zelana trembled slightly. Ren slipped an arm around her shoulders. Let's get out of here, returning to the spa. Zelana fought down a wave of despair. She was suspended from conducting the advanced bonding ritual with new clients, which was a significant part of her calling. She could continue her other tasks, massages, basic therapy sessions, but the spa depended heavily on the revenue from specialized treatments. The board was growing uneasy. Meanwhile, Aracona tightened the screws, orchestrating rumors that Zelana was in breach of her professional obligations. Ren, seeing Zelana's waning hope, doubled down on his vow. I've been thinking, he told her one night. Maybe we should gather all the staff who have had dealings with Aracona. Someone else might have been pressured or manipulated. If we can prove a pattern of her attempts to coerce them, her entire case might crumble. Zelana's eyes lit with faint hope. That's a good idea. I know a handful of colleagues who've had uncomfortable run-ins with her or her circle, but they might be afraid to speak up. We'll give them anonymity if needed. Ren pressed. But we have to try. She nodded resolutely. Yes, let's do it. Over the next several days, they reached out quietly to staff members. A few did come forward with stories, Aracona making veiled offers of money or threatening their positions. A younger therapist tearfully recounted an encounter where Aracona tried to corner her into a future contract, though the therapist managed to evade by feigning a scheduling conflict. Another staff member had overheard Aracona bragging about purchasing the services of any spa employee she fancied. Armed with these accounts, Ren and Zelana worked with the spa's legal counsel, who filed a motion introducing evidence of a broader pattern of harassment by Aracona. The hearing date arrived swiftly, tension thick in the air. Lady Aracona arrived with her retinue, still confident, though an edge of annoyance flickered in her eyes when she noticed the spa's renewed determination. Testimony began anew. The younger therapist appeared nervously, recounting her experience, voice quivering. Aracona's lawyers attempted to discredit her. Another staff member's statements were read into the record, citing overheard threats. Yet, Aracona's counsel hammered away, questioning credibility, pointing out that no direct documentary evidence existed. Still, the cumulative effect seeded doubt in Aracona's claims of a purely consensual arrangement. Ren expected Aracona to remain composed, but as the hearing stretched into late afternoon, her mask slipped. She stood, eyes flashing with anger at the spa's attorney, who carefully cornered her on the stand about contradictory statements. She launched into a tirade about how the staff misunderstood her philanthropic intentions, twisting her generosity into ugly accusations of coercion. When the dust settled, the magistrate announced, "There is sufficient contradictory evidence and testimony to question the veracity of Lady Aracona's claims. As such, the matter remains unresolved. We will call for an evidentiary hearing next week, at which time we will decide whether to dismiss the suit or proceed to trial." The magistrate eyed Aracona. Lady Aracona, be advised, the court does not look kindly on deceptive or vexatious litigation. A swirl of frustration twisted Aracona's face. She had not expected this level of pushback. Storming out of the courtroom, she barked orders at her retinue, ignoring the curious stares of bystanders. Zelana released a shuddering breath as she and Ren stepped outside into the Helios sunshine. That might have gone better than we feared. The judge is starting to see through her. Ren squeezed her hand gently. We're making progress. That evening, upon returning to the celestial oasis, they discovered an ominous note pinned to Zelana's door. No name was signed, but the message read, "End this now. The spa is not worth your life." Zelana's face paled. Ren felt a wave of protective fury. Threats won't scare us off. Zelana clutched the note, her voice a whispered tremor. Aracona wouldn't be so reckless as to threaten me outright, would she? Ren set his jaw. We can't be sure, but this is clearly an attempt to intimidate you into dropping your defense. They reported the note to spa security, who promised to investigate. Elysia arranged for extra surveillance in Zelana's wing. Still, an undercurrent of worry thrummed through their days. Rumors circulated that Aracona had hired private investigators, maybe even mercenaries. Zelana tried to remain calm, continuing her daily routine, but tension glimmered in her eyes. Ren rarely left her side, vigilant at every turn. When the day of the evidentiary hearing arrived, they traveled once more to the Helios High Court. The air felt charged with unpredictability. Lady Aracona sat, with her lawyers, tapping slender, manicured fingers against a datapad. To Ren's surprise, her expression seemed more subdued, as though she were focusing on an alternate strategy. The hearing began. The spa's legal team methodically introduced staff statements describing Aracona's pattern of intimidation and manipulative offers. A short, stoop-shouldered figure with a bandaged arm took the stand, explaining how Aracona's bodyguards once cornered him to collect data on Zelana's session schedule, leaving him shaken. Under cross-examination, Aracona's lawyers tried to portray the witness as unreliable. But the details rang true. Aracona glowered, eyes seething with repressed rage. Ren guessed her initial confidence had eroded, replaced by desperation. As the day wore on, the magistrate asked pointed questions about the authenticity of Aracona's alleged contract, noting the absence of any actual document or direct evidence. Aracona's counsel floundered somewhat, clinging to intangible claims that were unraveling under scrutiny. In the final hour, Aracona herself took the stand again, forced to answer the magistrate's queries. Her answers were defiant, but cracks showed. When asked directly if Zelana had ever verbally agreed to an exclusive arrangement, she struggled to produce consistent details. The magistrate's expression hardened. "It appears," the magistrate said, "that your claims rest on an assumption that advanced therapy always implies exclusivity. But that is not recognized in the SPA's official disclaimers. I see no basis for a forced contract here." Aracona's face went stony. "Perhaps you have not reviewed the SPA's own promotional materials, which highlight personal intimacy, the forging of new life." "That's precisely what I sought, and was led to believe would be reserved for me." The magistrate let out a breath. "That may be your interpretation, but therapy sessions do not constitute a binding fertility contract unless explicitly agreed upon by both parties. Unless you have further evidence," Aracona's counsel signaled for a brief moment, whispering furiously in her ear. She nodded, lips thinning. "Yes, Your Honor, we do have new evidence. We request a closed session to present it, as it involves private communications." A murmur rippled through the spectators. Zelana tensed, uncertain. The magistrate studied Aracona's expression, then nodded. "Very well. Court will adjourn to private chambers. The counsel, involved parties, and official recorders shall attend." Ren frowned, glancing at Zelana. "What is she pulling now?" he whispered. Zelana shook her head anxiously. "I'm not sure." The court emptied except for the necessary participants. The magistrate beckoned them into a smaller hearing room. Aracona stood, clearing her throat with theatrical gravity. "I have in my possession recordings of private empathic transmissions between Zelana and me. These recordings demonstrate her tacit acceptance of my fertility arrangement." Ren's face flushed with outrage. "That's impossible. Zelana would never share empathic data for a recording. Also, how would you record empathic transmissions anyway?" Aracona lifted a small device from her bag, an angular piece of technology that glinted ominously in the overhead lights. "It is advanced equipment, used in certain intelligence sectors. I acquired it legally, of course. I only used it to document my sessions to protect my interests. If the court allows me to play them, you'll hear Zelana's empathic voice consenting." The magistrate looked skeptical. "This is highly unusual. Empathic transmissions are typically ephemeral and intangible. Are you sure the device is legitimate, and that these recordings haven't been manipulated?" Aracona's counsel interjected. "We have an expert witness prepared to verify authenticity." "Your Honor." Zelana stood, trembling. "This is madness. I never agreed to any arrangement. She must have fabricated these transmissions or spliced data from other sessions. It's unethical and an invasion of privacy to record empathic therapy without my knowledge or consent." Aracona shrugged theatrically. "I only sought proof of what we agreed upon." The magistrate rubbed the bridge of their nose, evidently torn. "We can't simply accept these recordings at face value. They must be carefully analyzed for authenticity. I'll grant a short recess to consult with the court's technical advisor." Ren took Zelana's hand, feeling her palm clammy with fear. "Stay strong," he whispered. "She's bluffing." During the recess, the magistrate's technical advisor, an individual with specialized knowledge of empathic scanning devices, examined the data Aracona provided. Meanwhile, the SPA's counsel, Zelana, and Ren waited in tense silence in a side chamber. Ren tried to comfort Zelana, but she was visibly distressed. If she truly managed to fabricate empathic transmissions, it's going to be our word against a supposed device readout, Zelana fretted. The court might be fooled, Wren frowned. Let's not panic yet. The spa's disclaimers specify that all empathic sessions are confidential and can't be recorded without express permission. Even if she has a device, using it would be illegal, right? The spa's attorney nodded thoughtfully. Yes, but the Helios legal system might still consider the recordings if they were relevant, though she could face separate penalties for illegal wiretapping. It's complicated. We can argue they're inadmissible, but if the judge deems them potentially valid, we're in trouble. A staffer informed them. The magistrate was ready to reconvene. They marched back into the small hearing room, hearts pounding. Aracona stood with a smug air. The magistrate cleared their throat. We have reviewed the device and the preliminary results. The recordings do appear to contain empathic pattern data. However, questions remain about the chain of custody and potential tampering. We'll allow a demonstration, but will not make any ruling on authenticity until experts can thoroughly analyze it. Aracona pressed a button. A faint hum filled the air. Suddenly, an ethereal echo of Zelana's voice seemed to resonate. Yes, I feel your intention. I consent to your dream of new life, your desire for exclusivity. The tone was undeniably reminiscent of Zelana's empathic timbre, hauntingly layered with the resonance typical of an empathic link. Wren glanced at Zelana, seeing horror etched across her face. The voice repeated several lines, each sounding more damning. The illusions of empathic moans, the sense of euphoric acceptance. If one didn't know better, they might believe Zelana had wholeheartedly agreed to bear Aracona's child, or some variation thereof. But Zelana shook her head in vehement denial. This is a lie, fabricated. I never uttered those words. Aracona looked on with mock sadness. How disappointing. Zelana, you know the truth, but you deny it now. The magistrate studied both parties. This is highly contentious. Expert analysis is necessary. For now, the court orders a thorough forensic examination of these empathic recordings. If they are proven authentic, it could constitute strong evidence for Aracona's claim. If proven falsified, it could be grounds to dismiss the suit entirely and possibly charge Lady Aracona with perjury. Aracona's counsel nodded, expression neutral. Zelana's lawyer asked for a postponement until the forensic analysis could be completed. The magistrate agreed, setting a date 2 weeks hence. After adjournment, Aracona walked past Zelana, leaning in to murmur, I told you, dear, I get what I want. Then she swept out. Zelana staggered, tears in her eyes. Wren supported her. We'll prove it's fake, he hissed. Somebody in the galaxy can detect that level of tampering. She swallowed hard, nodding, though her face betrayed her exhaustion. Yes, we must, or everything I've fought for will be undone. For several days, the spa's legal team scrambled to find a top-tier empathic forensics expert, someone capable of dissecting the recordings patterns and comparing them to Zelana's known empathic signature. The problem was that empathic recordings were rare, typically classified. Technology. Some rumored black market labs specialized in forging them. They needed an unbiased authority recognized by the Helios courts. Wren worked tirelessly, searching his network for leads. He recalled an old contact named Malik, a rogue scientist who once specialized in disreputable projects. Reaching out discreetly, Wren discovered that Malik had long since gone legitimate, working now as a consultant on empathic security. Wren explained their predicament. Malik was initially reluctant, but after hearing the story and learning about Aracona's intimidation, he agreed to help. Soon, Malik arrived at the spa, a tall figure draped in a battered coat. His intense green eyes sparkled with curiosity. So, show me the data, he said bluntly. They handed over the device copies that the court allowed them to replicate for analysis. Malik set up specialized equipment in a private lab, scanning the empathic waveforms. Comparing them against Zelana's authentic empathic signature, gleaned from her voluntary reading. Hours turned into a day, then two. Zelana barely slept, pacing anxiously. Ren hovered with coffee or tea, trying to keep morale up. On the third night, Malek emerged from the lab, bleary-eyed but triumphant. I think I've found a mismatch. The frequency nodes are layered in a suspicious manner, almost like a spliced collage of empathic signals. If I can isolate each layer, I might prove the sample was artificially compiled, not a single stream from Zelana's mind. Zelana sagged in relief. So it's definitely fake. He rubbed his eyes. I can't say definitely yet, but the preliminary data is strongly suggestive of tampering. Another day or two, and I might have enough proof to present in court. Ren grinned. Malek, you're a lifesaver. They pressed forward. As Malek refined his analysis, Zelana's posture relaxed, hope returning to her eyes. Arakona's grand deception was close to being exposed. The day before the final hearing, Malek completed his forensic report. Indeed, the empathic signals originated from multiple, partial recordings, forcibly blended and pitch shifted to mimic Zelana's voice. The layering was sophisticated, but not flawless. Armed with this new evidence, the SPA's legal counsel prepared an airtight defense. They marched into the Helios High Court on the designated day with confidence. Arakona arrived looking regal but tense, scanning the SPA's team with narrowed eyes. When the magistrate convened, Zelana's attorney introduced Malek, who explained his credentials and described the analysis. Then, with methodical clarity, he demonstrated how the waveforms contained inconsistencies in layered amplitude. The court's own technical advisor reviewed Malek's data, nodding in agreement with his conclusions. Lady Arakona's face grew pale, her lips a thin line. Finally, the magistrate rejoined the main chamber. The court finds that the purported empathic recordings were fabricated. This raises serious doubts about Lady Arakona's entire claim. Without these recordings, there is insufficient evidence of any implied contract. Therefore, the suit is dismissed with prejudice. A hush fell, then a collective exhale of relief rippled among the SPA's representatives. Lady Arakona shot to her feet, voice shrill. Your Honor, this is an outrage. That analysis must be flawed. The magistrate rapped the bench. Silence. Lady Arakona. Furthermore, given this new evidence of possible fraud, the court may refer the matter for further investigation. You would be wise to remain quiet. Arakona's cheeks flamed. She whirled on her counsel, who looked mortified, then stormed from the courtroom, cloak snapping behind her. Zelana let out a soft cry of relief, and Ren hugged her tightly. The SPA's attorney shook hands with Malek, praising his expertise. When they exited the court, a wave of sweet Helios air rushed over them, carrying the warmth of victory. Zelana turned to Ren, eyes shining. We're free. I can stay here. Do my work. She can't force me anymore. Ren smiled. Couldn't have ended better. Kilosin, who had traveled with them, approached with a rare grin. Thank you, Zelana, Ren. Your resolve preserved the SPA's integrity, and your friend Malek has done a great service. Then, bowing to Zelana, we're grateful you remain steadfast. You may resume your advanced practice immediately, if you wish. Zelana inclined, her head, tears sparkling. Thank you, Master Kilosin. And so, in a swirl of relief and triumph, they returned to the celestial oasis. A few rumors suggested Lady Arakona might face charges for perjury or fraud, or at least remain persona non grata at the SPA. Staff members congratulated Zelana and Ren for standing up against tyranny. Alicia nearly embraced them both with her four arms at once, exclaiming about the SPA's renewed sense of security. That evening, Zelana led Ren to a quiet observation bubble near the station's topmost spire. The curved glass offered a breathtaking, 360-degree view of the stars. They sat together, side by side, hearts full. Ren asked softly, So, what now? Zelana gazed at the swirling cosmos. We continue living freely, I suppose I'll remain here, offering the bonding ritual to those who truly seek healing. You'll continue your travels. She said it with a gentle sadness, as if resigned to the inevitability of his departure. Ren reached for her hand. I do have obligations in the stars, but nothing says I can't return. Or maybe I can stay a while longer. He gave her a wry grin. A courier can sometimes choose his own route. You don't know. Her expression softened, and she moved closer, resting her head against his shoulder. I'd like that. To explore this bond we share, beyond just ritual or therapy. We've both experienced so much, maybe it's time we chose each other. Ren's heart pulsed with warmth. He lifted her chin, gently, meeting her gaze. Those luminous eyes held him transfixed. In that silent exchange, all the words left unsaid became clear. They cared for each other in a way neither had foreseen, shaped by empathy, respect, and trust. He leaned in, pressing a tender kiss to her lips, tasting the subtle sweetness of her breath. She responded in kind, arms slipping around him. The starry firmament enveloped them, swirling in silent cosmic witness to a bond, forged not by force, but by free will and genuine affection. They parted slowly, breathing in unison, foreheads touching. You realize, he murmured, I came here expecting a standard massage. She gave a soft laugh, eyes shining. Life rarely unfolds as we plan, does it? He brushed a stray tendril of her shimmering hair aside. No, but sometimes that's for the best. They lapsed into contented silence, the station's gentle hum cradling them. There, in the hush of the celestial oasis, on the cusp of a new chapter, they found not just relaxation or ephemeral relief, but a renewed sense of hope and a future bright with possibilities. And thus, in the star-filled cradle of Helios orbit, their story born of misunderstanding, nurtured by empathy, and tested by formidable opposition, came to its gentle and joyful resolution.